I remember seeing Trek to Yomi at one of the directs, and I had two thoughts that came to mind quickly. One, I bet this game is going to be very, very difficult. Number two, I thought there was going to be a horror element to it. And on those guesses, I was 0 for 2. But the one thing I could tell you was the game looked beautiful, and I was really excited for the sort of cinematic presentation that the game had. I was finally able to beat Trek to Yomi, and I want to talk about it. What are my thoughts on this game? But before we get into any of that, I do want to remind you guys to please like, subscribe, or if you really want to help the channel out, just watch another video. And that will tell YouTube, hey, we should suggest more videos from this guy. Anyway, on to Trek to Yomi, and my first thing that I have to say is I'm probably 100% wrong with how you pronounce the name of the game. Trek to Yomi, I don't know, I'm an uncultured punk from Kansas of all places, so I'll do my best. But anyway, the first thing that I really noticed about the game was the fact that it wasn't that difficult. I had thoughts of it being like a Soulsborne or something of that nature where it really took a lot out of you to be able to engage in combat and to be, well, let's say decent in combat. But honestly, it wasn't that bad. In fact, I was really surprised by how quickly I was able to dispatch enemies one after one after one. And I don't know, at the same time, I was happy about some of it and then kind of disappointed in another aspect of it. Now, this game pretty much has a really basic story. You are a samurai in charge of this village, and there's a few villages that are kind of intertwined together, but there's no centralized, like, police or military or anyone to stop bandits from coming through and just wrecking the place up. But there are these samurais that kind of work together. They kind of form little militias, if you will, and they stop the bandits. Well, your sensei is one of those samurais, in fact, arguably the most decorated one. And quickly in the game, he gets unfortunately defeated, and you take up his sword in his name, and you promise to take care of his daughter, who now becomes the leader of the village, and you vow revenge on these bandits. Now, years have passed and you've grown older and more proficient. At the same time, the bandits have finally started showing their head. They're attacking local villages, and you set off to go stop them. Now, things happen along the way, but this is essentially the entire story. It's a relatively short game about revenge, so you kind of look to the combat to be the thing that gives it a little bit more depth or more life, and to be honest, it's a little clunky. It's a duality and being bad yet good at the same time. Meaning, you're a great swordsman, so the fact that you can easily parry is something I think makes complete sense, you know? But at the same time, you can just kind of plow through enemies one after another. Now, there is a difficulty setting and you can, crank it up. I also do like the fact that there's multiple ways to deal with enemies. You can take them out just by like setting a trap essentially, or igniting a cause of events that leads to their demise. But for the most part, it's swordplay, and it's relatively simple swordplay. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, and in fact, I would say when it comes to the presentation of the game and the cinematics, this game has had some of the biggest oh my god moments that I've had in quite a while, especially when it comes to like the environment around you and things happening around you, like a giant tree about to fall on you and stuff like that kind of, I don't know, it just kind of adds depth and adds some excitement. Now, I'll also say too, navigating around these villages in this area, it is rather linear, but the amount of pathways that you can choose, the amount of options that you can choose, really do add another layer to the game. And honestly, as I'm surrounded by some amazing RPGs that I have yet to beat or even really get that far into, this is a welcome experience. I want something more linear, just more kind of hack and slash, if you will. Yes, there is special moves you can do, but you can also kind of just get by hacking and slashing. And it just tells you where to go, and big boss fights. Like, that's kind of what you want, especially when you're dealing with the likes of Fire Emblem Engage and Octopath Traveler 2 coming out soon, and Tales of Symphonia coming out soon. All these goddamn RPGs wanting to suck up my time. This is actually pretty nice. So this game really is a mixed bag, but I will say one thing that I was really positive about at the very beginning and then quickly turned and then had another about face was the presentation, the graphics, the whole look of the game. Because it does have this kind of filter on it that makes it look like it's kind of hazy and fuzzy. And in handheld mode, also being black and white, sometimes it can be really hard to see your character, especially when they're a kid. And I remember thinking, I need this to be bigger. Like, I just can't see what's going on, and I thought this is going to ruin the entire game. But after you grow up and in the second phase of the game, after the tutorial essentially, the screen really does level out and it looks good. Your character's big enough, you can see them, and everything works perfect after that. But I will say, if you are a handheld player and you do play it, and you have that same experience in the tutorial, don't worry, it does improve. On that note as well, I think sometimes with the Nintendo Switch, we don't need more of that like Vaseline rubbed look. Like, we don't need more blurriness, we kind of already get that anyway. It does definitely add to the environment and give it like a little creepiness factor, but there are times when you just want a little bit more definition. But ultimately, my thoughts on this game are that it's a good pickup. Like, I would give it about a 7 out of 10. The combat for me was nice because it wasn't too difficult. It wasn't overwhelming at all. In fact, could have been a little bit more difficult, honestly. But I actually like that. I like not always being challenged, you know what I mean? And it was kind of fun to just kind of experience the story in a short 4 to 5 hour burst, and then it was over. Now, knowing that this game does have multiple endings, so if you want to put more time into it and you want to discover more endings, there are a total of 4 that you can really get into if this is something that you want to. But I like the aspect of like still feeling accomplished at a 5 hour mark and just being done with it. I also do enjoy the combat, but I do think it's a little bit clunky. It's not as responsive as some games I've played. The whole environment and story I think is fantastic. I absolutely love that aspect of the game. Ultimately, yeah, I think it's definitely worth the $20 they're asking for, and right now it's on sale. Like, I got it for I think $15 or $16, and it's definitely worth it. And I've really enjoyed my time with it. But I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. Have you seen the game? Are you picking it up? What are your thoughts on it? Are you going to buy it? Is this something that you've already played on a different console? Anything and everything down below. I appreciate it. But anyway, guys, like always, I'm wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're truly happy because you make me happy. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.